How's everybody doing tonight? Okay. We're going to get started with week 4. Before we get started, I wanted to show some photos from last week on the ISO assignment. Like to do at the beginning of every class. Just a few of the photos I picked out from last week's. Tonight we're going to be covering ISO. We're also going to be covering how to create a contact sheet using Apple Photo application on your Mac. And then we'll also talk about a take-home sheet you'll take home to study some quiz terms for next week on camera terminology. And so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I want to show you some examples here from week 3. So this is ISO at 200, 100, and then 200 sunny. I'm going to stop it so I can manually control it here. So let's go back. Okay, so there's ISO 100 or 200 auto, 100 auto, and 200 sunny. 100 ISO 100 cloudy, 200 sunny, auto ISO, 100 ISO cloudy, 300 auto, 200 sunny, 100 shady. I'm going to focus on that one there. So auto 300, you'll notice on the 300, the facial tones are brighter and lighter, because remember on ISO, the higher the number you get, the more light it's going to fake the sensor out to thinking that it has. And I told you guys to use just the 3 different ISOs and then the same 3 different white balances, all auto white balance. Here's sunny at 200, more normal facial tones, and then 100 shady is a dark. You can definitely tell the darker skin tones on 100 shady. So that's that one. I want to go to the next one. Shows one of these here. Let's go with Salvation Army one, I think it is. Yeah. I'm going to look at the Salvation Army. This is Salvation Army, church parking lot at 100 ISO, 200 ISO, incandescent white balance, and 400 ISO, fluorescent white balance. And they said this one was the best one as far as what it really looked like according to when they looked at it without the camera help. Next one, let's highlight the Rock Cut Park. There's like a 400, 800, 200, 400, and 800 ISO. We'll start out with the 200 ISO. And 200 ISO we know is going to be a little darker just because of the lower ISO number. This is the 300 ISO, or 800 ISO, I'm sorry, auto white balance, much lighter. And 400 ISO was kind of middle range. And this one looks like probably the best contrast exposure probably out of all of them. So hopefully you could tell by the ISO assignment when you started taking with different ISOs, different white balances, you could definitely see a difference within the ISO ranges, especially if you're taking the same photo setting and you're not moving your camera, you're just taking the same photo setting 3 times, shifting between the different ISOs. Next, we're going to jump right into what we're talking about this week, which is ISO, continually talking about ISO, and we're going to be doing a contact sheet. So if you guys want to go to week 4 in-class exercise. There's a link in there called pics.zip that you'll need to download to your Mac. Whenever you click on that link, let me show you what it looks like on the overhead. When you click on the link, because we're going to go to it after our discussion to create our contact sheet. The contact sheet we're going to be using tonight to create it is photos on the Mac. We used to use iPhoto for years, but Mac, when they upgraded their OS, changed it as photos. And then at home, I have a podcast in here in week 4 in class to show you how to use it, Picasa, to create a contact sheet. Photographers create contact sheets to put in the jewel case of a DVD after they burn their images to a DVD to save them, which I definitely recommend you doing because your computer can crash, your cloud service can crash that you store your images on, like Foki, and if you lost all of that, you're going to lose all your images. And backing up your images is really cheap if you do it yourself. It's dirt cheap, but even if you take it to Walmart to have them do it, it's like $2 to do something like 200 to 300 images on a DVD, and they'll put it in a jewel case for you, and they'll even create a contact sheet of all the images in that jewel case. Yes? What was it? Yeah? Pretty much, but there's times where you're going to have to use it over 300. Yeah. For the most part, but there are a lot of times where the auto white balance will do just fine without having to do manual. And yeah, so he said, 300 pretty much standard for ISO as far as max. In some cases, yes, but really, you'll notice most of your cameras go up into the thousands in ISO, and so there's going to be times where you could possibly use it that high. Not too normal, though. Over 300, 400, 500, that's pretty abnormal. And then on the white balance, the way your cameras are built, if you're in a pinch because it takes some time to set a manual white balance. So if you're in a pinch to take a photo, you might not always have time to create a manual white balance on your photos. And so in that case, I suggest leaning towards and knowing how your camera adjusts for the auto settings on white balance. And that's one of the reasons I want you guys to play with auto white balance this last week, because we will be getting into manual down the road, but if you don't already know what the auto white balance will do, manual really doesn't mean anything, because a lot of times you can get away with auto white balance on a lot of your different camera settings. So if you go into week 4 in-class exercise and click on that pics.zip, when you do, if you're not used to a Mac, it's going to throw it down on the bottom of your web browser like this. If you click on that file or that item on the bottom of your browser, it says pics.zip, go ahead and do that. When you do that, it's going to open it up into a new window, okay? And if it doesn't already extract it on your Mac, the way you extract images on a Mac or any zip file is just double-click on that zip file. So if it's not already created a folder called pics, go ahead and double-click on the pics.zip file, and it'll extract it. If you do it again, it's not going to hurt. It'll just create a folder called pics2. And inside of that folder is, by the way, what we're going to be using tonight to create the contact sheet. Okay? So anybody need help on the download images, the zip file? Okay. So keep that there because we'll be going there at the end of the class, but I wanted to make sure everybody had that downloaded before we got started. Okay. So this week on the notes, we're going to first talk about some cards in the 4 notes in Module 4. These are cheat sheets for your camera. You can store them in your phone. You can use them on Dropbox.com. If you don't know what that is, it's a free repository for files, a cloud repository. You get, I believe, 5 gigs free or 2 gigs free. I can't remember. 2 to 5 gigs free initially on Dropbox.com. It's the same as Box.com. That's another one. Or Box.net. I'm sorry, not Box.com. And then Microsoft has a version as well. What's the name of Microsoft's cloud service? Anybody know? Installed Windows lately? As soon as you install it, they tell you, hey, do you want this cloud service? But Microsoft has a cloud service as well. Thank you. Yeah, OneDrive. And then Google has one. You can use that. But the one I use a lot for most of my projects, whether it be for school or programming or graphics or photography, is Dropbox.com, because it can run on any appliance I have, phone, tablet, Windows, Mac, Linux, doesn't matter. I can run Dropbox on all of those devices. So we're going to look at a few of these cards. There's 3 of them. I'll give you the one I recommend, what I like, but you might not like it, and you might like another one. And again, these are just PDFs. Some of them look good on the screen, some of them don't. Some of them have more information than others do. So you'll kind of look at all 3 of them and then pick the one you like and keep it in the Dropbox folder, or keep all 3 in the Dropbox folder, or on your phone. That way you can pick it up at a moment's notice to look at it. And just like anything that, if you're into any hobby, or if you're into anything, a builder, hobbyist, craft, whatever, there's always these things called cheat sheets, which helps you basically tips and tricks of the trade that people have found over the years, and that's what these are. Okay? So the first one we're going to look at is card 1. And let me click on that to bring it up. So card 1 is a beginner card booklet. It's not going to show up well on the screen, but it's 15 pages. And it's called Beechers Photo Flashcards. Beechers is really famous when it comes to photography for both amateur, intermediate, and advanced photography. And so what it is it just has terminologies, has settings, has information. You turn your head sideways here. It has, like, for instance, ISO. It talks about ISO. And it says here, sun, 100 to 200 ISO. If it's shady or cloudy outside, 400 ISO. If it's very dim, shady, or dark area, maybe 800 to 3200 ISO. And then it gives some notes. If you noise increases as you turn the ISO volume up, and we talked about that, the noise or the granularization of images, pixelization. I'll pick another one here, auto ISO, which most of your cameras have on by default. It's the light meter, measures the brightness of the light, and it sets the ISO accordingly. Generally, auto ISO works well, except when you're using long exposures on a tripod or dim light. And then it goes on and on for 15 pages on notes about different things about photography and different settings and things like that. So that's card 1. Card 2, and I'd like you to go over all of these too if you haven't had a chance. Go over all these in the next week, figure out which one you like, or read all of them and put them all in your Dropbox or in your phone. This is, again, a Beechers photo cards. It's formatted, as you can tell, a little bit different in a vertical format. Same exact content, bigger text, which you might like, and easier to read. Looks good on a tablet, looks good on a phone. This is one I use a lot, and I recommend students to use this, beginner students to use this. And it has good, it's terminology in it, camera shake, exposure settings, just some really cool helps for any photographer. Then card 3, let's open that one up. This is a camera bag version. Really, 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 really small text. This is called Jim's Photo Cheat Sheet. 3 columns in the cheat sheet. And trying to remember here. 1 page. 2 pages, I'm sorry. 2 pages. So you can literally print this out back and front, fold it up in a camera bag. I've done this as well. I've got this in a number of camera bags. And so, again, just a cheat sheet for everything from ISO to direction of lights to reviewing aperture and shutter speed. Something every photographer is going to need as you take photos. And so look at all 3 of them. If you want to keep all 3 of them, that's great. But at least get to know what the content of all 3 of them are. And because if you don't know the content, it's going to be hard to say, where I need to go to find this information quickly, and then it's going to help you as a reference. So those are the cheat sheets I recommend in week 4 to get started. Now I want to talk about ISO. ISO is the camera's ability to basically assess light and true light. And so the sensitivity of your digital camera's sensor will determine the sensitivity of your ISO. All right? And ISO, the way it's supposed to work is it's supposed to digitize true light to the sensor on what true light is that's around the outside of the camera. So it's relatively new to digital photography. We didn't have such a creature in film world. Okay, it deals directly with the sensor. ISO does, and you told that you were, figured out this week it really does affect the lightness or darkness of your photo dramatically, depending upon the range of that ISO that you choose. So 100 ISO versus 500 ISO is a dramatic range. 100 ISO versus 800 ISO, dramatic range in some cases. And so depending upon the lighting that you're in, again, depends upon the effect of that ISO. And you could tell that during your photos this last week. So if you were in a darker room and you bump the ISO up to 500, 600, 700, you could really tell a difference. If you had it at 100 ISO or the lowest ISO, maybe some of yours was 80, it made it darker possibly. And so relatively new, it makes sense of all the lingo and acronyms that can be rather daunting tasks, but it's also key to knowing your way around the camera and taking excellent photos. One of the most confusing settings of your shooter of the camera is undoubtedly ISO. So put together a dead simple explanation of help us to master it. Here's what you need to know. First, break down the acronym. ISO is short for International Standard Organization, the main governing body that standardizes sensitivity ratings for, you guessed it, camera sensors. And so it's a term that was carried over from film. When you change your ISO setting, you're adjusting your camera sensitivity to light. And so ISO setting can be anywhere from 24 to 6400 or higher. And these numbers have a direct relationship to the device's sensitivity. So a lower setting makes less sensitive and high makes it more sensitive. Also, along with shutter speed and aperture, ISO is one of the 3 factors that we talked about last week of determining your picture's exposure level. So finding the right balance is key to getting a perfect shot. So finding the right ISO setting, first you should know that a higher ISO typically, we talked about this last week, translates into grainy, pixelated images. And you've probably seen that in some of your images this last week, maybe, if you bumped up your ISO just playing around to see what it would do. Anybody do that, by the way? Just kind of max it out to say, whoa, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, and I recommend doing that. One way to get to know what ISO is going to do is to play with it. And so that's the whole idea of most of the assignments in here is to get the idea of, especially the first half of the semester, what your settings will do, both good, bad, and ugly. And so, general rule, you want the lowest setting possible needed for your photo to have the best exposure. So you'll check out the picture below. We'll look at the difference between the different ISOs. So we have here on the left 100 ISO, on the right 3200. I mean, you can really tell even on this overhead projector, which is a new projector, but still not the best of image, but you can even tell from where you're sitting, the right side's grainy, right? You can really see it. 3200 ISO, noisy, 100 ISO, pretty clean image, all right? The lower the ISO will produce a more color accurate, aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but there are situations where a higher ISO is desirable, and the proper ISO depends upon the level of lighting that you're around. And as you start taking photos, you'll determine from your camera what that proper ISO should be according to the light that's around you. And one of the reasons why I had you play with the white balance setting was you can trick out the ISO and do like artistic effects with ISO with the right counter white balance. Okay? You might have seen photography with, your like artistic blues and artistic reds and artistic yellows over the hue of an image. You wonder how they did it by manipulating ISO and white balance. And you can easily do it with auto white balance and manipulating ISO higher or lower. And you can even do it with manual ISO or manual white balance as well. So the proper ISO depends upon the lighting around you, also the visual effect you're going for. Because up to this point, maybe you've been thinking of visual effect as, I just want the picture to look like the picture looks in my eyes when I look at it, right? And that's great, that's good, but there's going to be some times where you're going to want an artistic effect, and that's where manipulating ISO and understanding ISO is going to help you manipulate that image to what you want it to do. So if it's too light, you know immediately what you can do to darken it up. If it's too dark, you can know immediately what to do to bump up the light with ISO. So here we go, some rules to help us, some tips to help us, not rules, but tips. If your subject's moving and you're trying to freeze the motion with motion stop, you're likely to need a higher ISO to compensate for the higher shutter speed and also to ensure the image gets enough light. Second is if you're going for more of a vintage look aesthetically, then you want to add a little bit of grain to your photos. Don't be afraid to bump it up some, all right? You want to give some grainy look to it. If you use a tripod to stabilize your camera, you can also get away with slower shutter speed, which also allows you to use a lower ISO. If you're shooting an image that doesn't require large depth of field, you can increase the camera's aperture, thus allowing more light in the lens using a lower ISO. If you're shooting with artificial light, could be in like using a flash on your camera, using incandescent, using, as we get down the semester, we'll bring in lights into the classroom. You can, we'll talk about those type of lights. But they're artificial. Anything that's non-sunlight, non-moon, non-nature light is going to be artificial. Generally with that, you're going to be typically get a lower ISO setting. You probably need to experiment, which the whole idea of last week, this week with ISO is to hit the sweet spot and tinker around with it till you figure out what that best setting is for that. You probably need to experiment again continually. Never trust your camera's display. Don't assume that your picture will turn out just because the tiny 2-inch preview looks awesome, because that's not always the case when you go to print it out or put it online even. So your shots always look different on your computer as well. We talked about this last week, how you can have a great looking photo on your PC, on your Mac, on your phone, on your tablet, but when you go to print it out or you go to upload it, it looks terrible, right? And so the colorization, the pixels on your monitor, the range of colors on your monitor are different than the color range on pictures when they print out on a printer. And it also depends upon the color of your printer and the quality of your printer. So, number of different factors. So, basically, you probably won't be able to spot noise on your camera's small display. For this reason, they say they highly recommend zooming in with the zoom finder on your camera. You can do this on most of your cameras. You can zoom in on the image itself to look at grainy areas. Most of your cameras will allow you to zoom in at least 3, 4, 5, 600%, even more into that image and just look at the quality of that image. There's nothing worse than taking a bunch of seemingly great shots only to discover that noisy and speckled when you upload them from your PC. And you might have had that happen this last week possibly. And that's okay. That's the whole idea of learning and understanding that, hey, what I take on my camera doesn't always translate when I upload it or when I print it. Okay, now you have those pictures I had you download, right? Everybody have that? I want you to go on your Mac and minimize every application. And on a Mac, the way you minimize applications is clicking on the little yellow button on the left of every form to where you get down to the desktop. So I'm going to walk around and make sure everybody has this. Down to your desktop on your Mac. Once you get down to your desktop on your Mac, I want you to click on the Go menu on the top of your Mac, and then go to Applications. So Go menu, Applications, and I'll just kind of stand back here to watch everybody here and make sure if I need to help anybody. So Go menu, Applications. You're not going to see the Go menu unless you've clicked on the desktop with your mouse. So Go menu, Application, then find the Photos application and double click on it. Photos is a newer application to the Mac OS. It used to be iPhotos for years, and you will get a first-time welcome screen. Just go ahead and welcome through that. Click the blue button to get started. And it'll probably come up with a welcome to Photos, telling you some things you can do. 4 little icons. Okay, go down to Applications, up a little higher. Click on Applications and click on Photos. And if you see the little welcome and then the blue button that says Get Started, go ahead and click on the Get Started button for me. Okay, then we are, once you got that, I'm waiting on a couple to get there. Now I want everybody to go to the File menu in Photos, and we're going to import some photos. So go to the File menu, up on the very upper left where it says Photos, File, Edit, Image. You want to click on File, right up here. It's on the very top of your Mac. Very top of your Mac, go to File, and then you want to import photos. Yep, just import. And you'll need to browse out to the download folder. That should be where your zip file went, I believe. So click on the download area on the left side, and you should see a folder in there called Pics or Pics2. Did you download all yours? Okay, you want to do it on here. So go ahead and go to week 4 in class. So go to the modules. Yeah, you'll want to go to modules. And then go down to week 4 in class. And then click on that link that says pics.zip. And then click on that download here. Click on that for me. And then double click on that zip file. Oh, it's already extracted it for you. So go back to your Photos app on the bottom of your Mac. You should see that Pics app. Now double click on that Pics folder for me, everybody. And that keyboard command I'm going to show you is the Command A. Take your mouse and click it somewhere around the images area in a blank space, in a white space. Then select Command A. That should select all your images. Then on the lower right corner, you should have an option to select all those images. Yep, go ahead and do that. So Command A, and then the blue button on the lower right, click that. And then there should be another blue button that shows up on the upper right of that form. Click that blue button with the white text. Now you've successfully imported those images, and you'll see Mac on the right side pop up a little notification saying that you've successfully imported them. All right, now what we've got to do is take again now and click anywhere in the white space. You'll have all your 14 photos there. Click anywhere in the white space, do a Command A again to select all the photos. Then when we want to go to the File menu, the very top of your Mac, go down to Print. And once the Print menu comes up, on the right side of the Print menu, there is one of the menus there for Contact. One of the menus at the bottom on the right side that says Contact or Contact Sheet. Click on that. And what we're going to do is adjust our Contact Sheet to where you have all of the images on one page. And there's a slider that says it's a column slider. So go ahead and play with that real quick. Play with that column slider real quick and expand it to the right to where it maybe makes it more pages, or to the left, to the right less pages, to the left more pages, if I'm not mistaken. And then bring it back down to just one page. And so, yeah, you'll click on that. And then let's go ahead and on your columns, take it to the right. It should make them smaller, and I'll take it all the way to the left. And that was one image per page. And we'll take it back down to where it's only one page. Cool. So bring it down to where it's just one page with all 14 images, 13 or 14 images there. Then once we've got that, we're now ready to save this to as a PDF. We're not going to print it out, even though you think we're going to print it out. Does everybody see the print button in that dialog? On the bottom right. Good. Go ahead and click the print button for me. And then on the left side of that print button, there is an option for PDF, and we want to select that option for PDF and save as PDF. And we're going to change the directory from the pics directory, where it says where, change it from where pics to where desktop. And change the name of it to your last name at the very top. So we're changing it to the download desktop directory, save as last name, and then just click the blue save button. You should now see on the right side of your Mac an icon show up. That's the PDF. Go ahead and double click on that icon that has your name on it. There we go. And it should bring it up in an app called Preview. That's the one you're going to upload into week 4 in class. So go ahead and do that. Go back to week 4 in class in Eagle and upload that PDF you just created. If you need help doing that, if you got lost somewhere, raise your hand. I'll come by and help you. Okay, you're ready now to go to File. Looks like you are in the Preview app. Yeah, go to Preview, quit Preview for me. All right, and then you'll need to click on the desktop once with your mouse. Then go to the Go menu, Applications, Photos. It's right here in this area here, Photos. Double click on Photos. Nope, that's Adobe Photo. It's just called Photos. There you go. Double click on that. Once it starts up, you'll get a welcome screen. You'll click the blue button on that. There you go. Click the blue button there. You'll get another welcome screen. Now you're ready to go to the File menu at the very top of your Mac, very top left of your Mac, File menu. Very top left. And then go to Import. And then go to your Download section. Should go right to that. Download, and then double click on a Pics folder. And then let's do a Command A inside of here. And click the blue button on the right bottom there. Yep. Click on the blue button on the top right. And you'll get a little message on the Mac that'll say, hey, you just done it successfully. Import all your images. Now let's do a Command A in here again. And then go to the File menu on the upper left corner again. Print. And then on the right here, you're going to select Contact Sheet, which is down there. And make sure they all fit. I had them play with this, so like that column thing, just slide it very to the right. Keep going. We'll make it smaller. Then go all the way to the left. It should do one picture per page if you go all the way left, I believe. And then bring it back down to where they're all on one page. You know, kind of fill up that one page a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Once you fill up one page, good. Now click the Print button on the bottom right corner of the form. And then on the lower left of this form, PDF. Save as PDF. And put your name instead of at the very top, whatever it says there, put your name at the very top instead of untitled. Put your last name, I'm sorry. And then where it says where, you're going to change the where path from Pics to Desktop. And then click Save. There we go. Now we can go to Photos on the upper left corner and Exit Photos or Quit Photos. Very left. As soon as you guys upload your PDF successfully, you can quit Photos if you would. And then now you're ready to go to week 4 in class in Eagle and upload that PDF that's on your desktop right here. Do what now? No. No, you should be okay. You should be okay. Yeah, it should upload it fine. The size of it shouldn't be too big. Cool. All right, so let's look at that. You say the purpose of thumbnails is to index a CD or a DVD of what images are in that DVD, right? If you're not in the habit right now of backing up your images on a DVD or CD, I recommend doing it. You know, they're still pretty inexpensive to do. I even believe in backing those up on that medium versus an external hard drive or cloud, because cloud can fail, external hard drives can fail. Has anybody ever lost pictures before, by the way, on a hard drive? Yeah, kind of stinks, doesn't it? You know, there are some programs I'll recommend. If you ever do lose images on a hard drive and they get corrupted or you delete them on accident and you even trash them from the recycle bin, I'm going to write up here on the board a program that's totally free to use to recover files. RECUVA, recover. It's a totally free app that you can use to recover images, documents that you've deleted and trashed from the recycle bin on a Mac or PC. They do have a commercial version, but the free version works awesome. If you were to take your laptop into Best Buy or any computer shop and say, hey, I've deleted some images, how much is it going to cost? $500 up front, usually, just to look at it. And not guarantee that they get anything, right? Just $400 or $500 to look at it. And then, again, not guaranteeing anything will be recovered. Well, this software here will allow you to recover any type of file you've deleted unless you have reformatted your hard drive, which most of the times you haven't done that. So, contacts are used again. You got to get in the habit of creating them. I do it every time I do a photo shoot. Create a contact sheet, burn my images to a DVD, file it away. If you don't have time, like a lot of times I don't have time to do that, I'll take the SD card to Walmart, drop it off, do some shopping, go back and pick it up an hour later. They'll burn it on DVD for you with an index card on top, or cards, plural, however many pictures you have in there. And it's only, $2 or $3, pretty reasonable. Anybody done that before, by the way? I do recommend it. It's very convenient, number one, and pretty cheap. I mean, it's not as cheap as you do it yourself, but you know your images are safe, and that's the main thing. Let's talk about SD cards for a second, because we've not really talked about that yet before we go on. SD cards, I recommend keeping 2 to 3 backups of SD cards in your camera bag. Also batteries, regardless of what type of batteries your camera have. Most cameras, you can buy an adapter that takes regular batteries, like regular AAA, AA, or whatever, like an adapter of some type. Get an adapter or two that you can keep backup of 1 or 2 backup battery in your bag, because batteries, you don't want to be caught with a dead battery, basically. So backup SD cards, which are pretty cheap. The batteries are a little bit more expensive. And if you can't find a battery backup for your camera, that what I just mentioned, like a AAA or AA kind of battery backup, just find the one that your camera takes, like a lithium rechargeable, whatever it is, and buy that. They're going to cost probably $20 or $30, but it's definitely going to be worth it to have a backup battery or 2 in your bag. Now, what'll save your backup battery, or your battery in general, is not using your LCD viewfinder preview. Not the LCD viewfinder, but the preview of your pictures. And some people are in the habit of using the LCD preview screen to take the pictures. The only really benefit of that is if you're taking a picture in a concert and it's up like this and you really can't see, yeah, definitely use it for that, because that's what it's made for. But it's not made for, like, if you're right here taking an image, you really no sense in using your LCD viewer to take the image. Just use the old-fashioned viewfinder and put your eye in there. You're used to using that. And it'll save your battery by up to 40-50% on most photo shoots if you use your, do not use your preview LCD and use a viewfinder instead. Okay. All right, so let's talk about ISO some more. So the in-class exercise, we did the photos one. Did everybody get a chance to download and install Picasa at home yet for your Mac or PC? If you've not done that, definitely do it this week, because you'll notice I have a little tutorial to help you. It's a podcast that helps you to create a contact sheet using Picasa, which is super duper easy, about as easy as it is with photos. It's really easy to do. And you don't have to have photos at home. You can use Picasa to do the very same thing. And if you've not downloaded Picasa, you will like it. It's an awesome application. Definitely recommend it. And you can practice this contact sheet at home with your app, with your pictures that you have in there so far. Okay. So we're going to spend some time on this week 4 take-home. I want to spend some time on ISO settings and walk around and make sure you understand where your ISO settings are, but also understand the settings on your camera for what you're saving your pictures as. Some of you might have you might be saving your pictures in RAW format. I want you to change it to saving it in JPEG format. And so I'll kind of come around and make sure that's the case and help you with that if you need to. So let's go and talk about your take-home, and then I'm going to walk around and spend some time with each one of your cameras and talk more about ISO. So last week we dealt with ISO and using ISO with white balance. This week you're going to also deal with ISO, but take a few more pictures. In fact, you're going to take 30 photos this next week, and I want you to find 10 separate photo settings. What I mean by that is 10 separate areas that you're taking a photo of, okay? And so we're going to talk about those areas that I recommend this week. So 10 separate photo settings, and in each setting, you're going to take 3 photos. Ergo, 30 photos. So here we go. We've got the first one is connect your camera to the computer, USB or card reader. This is after you've done the deed when you get home. Import your photos into Picasa. In a Mac, you can use Picasa as well, or you could use Photos if you want to. And by the way, they do have the Picasa version for Mac as well. Number 3, you'll upload the photos to week 4 on your photo site and comment on each photo with the below information: the place, the lighting, the ISO setting, and then you'll save it as a JPEG. Abbreviations for lighting this week: if it's sunny, it's S, cloudy, C, indoor bright, IB, indoor dark, ID. So an example would be mall, indoor bright, 200 would be the mall, indoor bright at 200 ISO. You'll create a contact sheet this week as well when you're finished using Picasa and submit the contact sheet in this area. You'll submit the pictures into week 4 in Foki. And so really, if you look at it, you have the choice of where you want these photo settings to be. And so what I'd like to see this week in your photos is photos that you love to take. Some of you love to take outdoor photos, I know. I can already tell by your photos. Some of you like to take portraits, I can already tell. Some of you like to take pictures of the sky and landscapes and things like that. So whatever it is you really love to take, go to that place, spend some time this week, find 10 separate settings. If it's all outdoors, that's fine, but find 10 separate outdoor settings. Say you go to Rock Cut, you can do it all in one visit, right? And in each setting, take 3 photos, and in each one of those photos, you're basically going to use 3 different ISO settings, like we did last week, along with, you're not going to really worry about this time your white balance at all. Just keep it at auto. But I do want you to focus on visually yourself, what is the lighting around that area? Because it's important to note that. Up to this point, maybe you've just been taking photos really disregarding what lighting is around you. I want you to really think about it. Is it bright inside? Is it dark inside? Is it sunny? Is it cloudy? Whatever it is, you're going to jot that down in your phone or on a little tablet you bring with you, whatever. That way you kind of know what the lighting was like. And then you're going to take pretty much the same structure of ISO that you did last week. So we shouldn't have to, I want to go around again one more time to make sure everybody has that, what your ISO ranges are. And so if you did like 100, 200, 300 last week, you're still going to do 100, 200, 300 this week. The difference is you're going to visually look at your settings of what you're taking a photo of better to determine the lighting around it, the natural lighting. What is it like? Because the more you understand how ISO relates to light, whatever light is, the better you'll understand how to set ISO properly. Make sense? It's kind of like playing basketball, riding a bike. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. Are you going to stumble at times? Are you going to fail at times? Yes, that's going to happen. But if you look at the lighting around you when you're taking a photo and spend some time doing it, and just in succession, I'll pretend I'm at Rock Cut and I'm at the dock at Rock Cut, and I say I love fishing, which I do, and I'm going to take a picture of the dock at 6 o'clock in the morning at 100, 200, 300 ISO, and I say that it is not yet sunny. We'll say here I will going to use for this one, we'll say, I'm going to say cloudy on this one. We'll say it's cloudy in the morning or foggy in the morning. And by the way, if there's an acronym that's not up there that you find the lighting is, go ahead and use it. I don't care. Just let me know what that acronym is so I won't just have a letter. And so that'd be great. So if it's foggy out, what's supposed to be tomorrow morning, I could write foggy 100, take a picture of 100 ISO, 200 ISO, 300, but do not move my camera. Leave the camera the same, the best you can, the same setting, visually that you had in all three shots. Does that make sense? That way when you look at the pictures post, when you get home, you're going to see a dramatic difference in that ISO setting according to the light you were in. And also you'll be able to determine, oh wow, so if I'm in this type of light, if I'm in foggy light, 200 is awesome ISO. It's a sweet spot for ISO in foggy conditions early morning. You jot that down, make a mental note, write it down in a notebook on your phone, which I generally do. That way when you go back a year later and you're taking that same photo shot and you find out, oh, it's foggy out here, you know exactly what setting to put your camera on. Does that make sense? Because you're not going to have time to figure it out sometimes. You're just going to have to guess, all right? So this will hopefully help you understand what your settings are, the best ISO settings for the lighting around you. That way when you actually want to take a picture and you can't wait to figure out the settings, you know what they are already. It's just second nature. And the only way to get to that point is to do it over and over again. 30 pictures sounds like a lot, but it's not, right? In digital world, it's nothing. And so if you take 60 pictures and then, hone it down to 30 for me, which some of you might take 60 pictures, that's fine. Hone it down to the 30 pictures that I want. But make sure within each setting, when you're taking a photo shot of the dock, like I just mentioned, my camera's not going to move. All thing's going to move is the ISO setting. 100, 200, 300, but the camera shot's going to stay the same. Make sense? And let's do auto white balance. Don't mess with that. Don't do manual. Just leave it at auto white balance. As far as your setting for your cameras, most of your cameras will allow you to play with ISO in manual mode, auto mode, for sure. And if you need help, again, as I come around, if you had problems last week, let me know. But you've already done this under your belt 1 week, so you should know where your ISO is right now and how to get to it. But you'll be surprised how you don't realize sometimes what the lighting is around you until you actually physically think of it. Oh, it's bright outside, or it's dark outside, or it's bright inside, or it's dark inside. That really does make a difference to know what setting to set your ISO at. Because you can't always trust your camera settings. You have to kind of trust your instinct on what you think your cameras can do, because every camera here is a little different. Your eyes are a little different too. What you see sometimes might not be something I see. And you might see lighting differently than I do. And you've heard of people have color blindness. There are different variations of color blindness, by the way. There's true color blindness, like totally 100% color blindness, but then there's like a whole bunch of variations in between. And so what you see as blue, I might see as, a light blue, I might see as a medium blue or a dark blue, possibly, depending on the lighting around it. So again, and as you get older too, your eyes get older, you're more tired as the day goes on. Personally, and I think I told you this already, personally, my best time to take photos is early morning. And I know some of you aren't early morning people. Just get up, do it, and go back to bed, I guess. But, for this week, I'm thinking the best lighting is going to be early morning for if you're an outdoors person. Some of you might, be taking shots indoors. That's fine. You have your acronyms for that. But again, if there's acronyms on here like I have for indoor bright, indoor dark, you might find something differently than that. Can anybody think of another one indoors besides indoor bright, indoor dark? There's definitely some out there. Just give me some that you might think of. What is it? There you go, tungsten. There you go. I don't have that up there. You put that up there. So just because I give you this list doesn't mean it's the only list you can use. You can add whatever lighting is. I want you to use your creativity and what you think the lighting is around you. Start with this list, but if it's not on the list, put it on there so I'll know what it is. Make sense? All right, so let me come around real quick, and I'm going to check to make sure that you know where your ISO settings are again.